So if the coalition, if they are coming for Tinubu, they should create a strategy to deliver a knockout. The APC has expressed more, not in any form of righteous operation. They expressed more in hypocrisy. And that is the basis of the argument. Because they say one thing and do the other. All the policies that we place burden on Nigerians, they kind of stood against it, including shutting this country down in 2012 over removal of fuel subsidy.
Welcome to 10 Angles Podcast. 10 Angles Podcast is the program where we interrogate the news. On our program today, we'll be discussing the ADC Coalition as well as the build-up to 2027 elections. And we have with us in the studio today, Abraham Ogbodo. Abraham Ogbodo is with us today to discuss this issue. He's a former editor of the Nigerian newspaper, a seasoned journalist, and a social commentator. Welcome to our program, Abraham.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's just go to the meat of the matter. The polity is a buzz right now with political issues. Don't you think it is too early for politicians to start jostling for the 2027 elections?
It is not too early. By way of pattern, it's not too early because that has always been the pattern. What should bother us is why it has remained the pattern. Not when people are voted into office, they do little governance and then the politics take over. And it is more so with those who have an eye for renewal, mandate renewal. If they are coming for the first tenure, they are preoccupied with the intrigues to secure a second tenure. And so often than not, or what we have witnessed since 1999 is that as soon as it is mid-term, if they manage to just remain focused on governance for the first 2 years, the other 2 years will be used to create the politics of how they can succeed themselves again. And that has been the pattern. Though unfortunate, but there is nothing we can do. So to that extent, it is not too early for the politics to begin.
So in actual fact, anybody that enters into office just has 2 years to serve the people, and then politics begins again.
Yeah, it is unfortunately so because that is the tradition that has come to be established. Except something will happen to create a paradigm shift. But for now, we just have to live with it. It's a reality we have to live with. In fact, since last year, there have been several moves, including the so-called declaration of emergency rule in Rivers, the spate of defection from other political parties to APC. All of that grounds were connected with how the politics of 2027 will be played. And so it has been like that. The economy is on a vacation. Governance is on hibernation. So everything is on a standstill just for politics to prevail.
But governance is the main reason why they are in power.
Of course, it goes without saying that governance, people come to power, come to leadership to govern, to deliver service. But it is the political culture that has evolved. And so the real challenge is how do you discharge this culture? How do you take it out and then bring the real culture of service, of governance?
You are speaking from experience. Several years as a journalist, you have seen the military come and go. You have seen several civilian administrations since 1999. Are you saying that there is no hope of good governance in Nigeria?
There is hope. There will always be hope. No situation is perfect. That is very true of the human nature. We always aspire for something better. It is in the course of that aspiration that we get derailed, almost always. There will always be hope. And hope will come when there is real shift in terms of the actors and shift in terms of even the operating stage, because the enabling laws, the institutions, they are not well strengthened. So when there is a shift in all of this, of course, things will change. When we talk of governance and not politics, politics will come. Politics is like the vessel, the vehicle, the process of taking appropriate political power. But once that is taken, once that is acquired, politics stops, then governance begins. If that is not happening, it means there is something, there is a disconnection that has to be fixed. That is where we are in this country.
So, sir, we've seen that ahead of the 2027, we are now seeing coalition building up across the major opposition parties, while those in government are also plotting to remain in power. Those in the opposition are also plotting to, somehow take them out of office. What will you make of the current coalition, taking Peter Obii of the Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar, the likes of Rotimi Amaechi, and the host of them? What do you make of the coalition?
Oh, it's good. It's good for our politics. It's really good. It's a good Elisa. It's creating some avenue for ventilation. Before now, we've been talking that it's like we are drifting into a one-party state. As all the objective conditions are showing that we are on the road to a one-party state. So just from the board, this thing is coming up like a thunderbolt from the blues. It's coming up that, okay, a coalition to challenge the dominant tendency in the politics, which is the APC and then the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Is good, because if that does not happen, it means we are not in a democracy. And the line between democracy and autocracy could be very slippery. It depends often on the operator, the key operator. If the key operator has a disposition to continue democracy, then democracy continues. If the disposition is no, I want to stop democracy for my own sake, then democracy stops. And in Nigeria, because of the weakness of the institutions, nobody is able to rise up to ensure that the rule of law prevails. So it's the rule of might. Whatever the ruler wants is what goes. And we just have to work at it in a way that in the end is the law that will prevail. Once we get to that point in our political development, then we can say, yes, the people are now in charge. For now, some few persons are in charge.
Okay, looking at those in the coalition, especially with the ADC, you have somebody like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who happens to be a co-strategist. Do you think that these persons who are grouping, do they have the wherewithal to challenge him?
Well, that is hypothetical. In politics, optimism is like an essential ingredient. There is no politician that goes into the field to fail. They all go to succeed. And the persons you're talking about, they are seasoned in their own right, and then they know very well that they are approaching a lion. Even if a lion is snared, a lion is caught up in a snare and all of that, you still approach the lion with caution. You still approach the lion very prepared. Because the lion cannot be taken so easily. You can't take out a lion without a real fight. And so that is the situation, that is the reality. And it's not the first time that a coalition to upstage an incumbent is happening. It happened with Jonathan in 2015. When it started, it was not taken seriously. They thought the opposition, the coalition, was going to dissipate. But it didn't. It didn't gain traction. And before you knew what was happening, it became a history. Jonathan was discharged from Aso Rock Villa. That can also happen. And then a lot depends on the person of the president. Jonathan, from our hindsight and everything we have come to know now, Jonathan was and still a Democrat. But if you are dealing with somebody who does not really express or live the tenets of democracy, then it's a different ballgame. You have to do more than just mobilization. You really have to do a lot. In my article in the Nigerian Tribune last Friday, I underscored the point that if you want to beat a champion, you don't just beat the champion. It must be seen that you have beaten the champion. And the analogy I drew there was between Ken Norton and then Muhammad Ali, the fight they had in New York City in 1976. It was a close fight. And then somehow, the consensus that Ali won was not just there, but the sentiments will always lie with the champion and not the underdog in an open fight, not the challenger. And so Ali told Ken Norton that, good, you could claim you have won, but if you are beating a champion, you must beat a champion hands down. So if the coalition, if they are coming for Tinubu, they should create a strategy to deliver a knockout. It will be so overwhelming that you cannot twist the variables. It will be clear. Everybody will be held to one purpose that, oh no, this is clear. The picture will be so established. You cannot use the electoral umpire, INEC, to do anything, to pull any stunt. You cannot use the judiciary to pull any stunt. It will be so clear. And so you will hands off and say, yes, I have been taken. It's possible.
All right. Why is this anger rising so much against the APC administration? One had thought that with the way APC came in, through late President Buhari, APC would have laid a good foundation for the development of Nigeria. Are the agitators, are they angry with the government, or are they angry with President Tinubu himself?
Okay. You see why people are particularly angry with the APC. The APC has expressed more, not in any form of righteous oppression. They've expressed more in hypocrisy. And that is the basis of the anger.
Many people will not understand when you say hypocrisy. So just break it down.
Yes, I will come to that. Because they say one thing and do the other. That's what people are doing. But why were they voted for in 2015? Because they presented a manifesto that was a clear deviation from what was obtainable then under PDP. They even talked of restructuring this country. Nothing they didn't do. All the policies that we place burden on Nigerians, they kind of stood against it, including shutting this country down in 2012 over removal of fuel subsidy. And so they presented themselves as the progressives, as people or the party that is aligned with the aspirations of the people. And so they came, and none of this happened. And so it's a disappointment. There must be anger that, okay, you told us you were going to take us out of doldrums. What now happened? Why are we still where we are? Why are we still suffering? And there is no measurable achievement that we can talk about now. Every other thing is in the long run that, okay, don't worry, suffer now, but it will be better tomorrow, which is what we talk about, the floating of the exchange rate, the complete deregulation of the downstream. All of that is in anticipation of a better tomorrow. But we have to survive today before we can talk of tomorrow. That is where the people are. And that you don't even do some of these things without safety valves. Every government, if you want to increase energy, then you must provide alternatives, especially petroleum, which is so central to operations, so central to the economy. If mass transit is in place, by coming here from Ogele, I will not have to look for or worry about getting into my car and come here. I will hop to the nearest train or bus stop station and then come here straight. The mass transit is not in place. Even network of road, everything is bad. And so we just doing so much. And then you don't even have public electricity. And so everybody lives on petroleum. And then you increase it without this kind of succor that you needed to have created to at least for people to have the capacity.
Well, okay. Lots of persons will disagree with you.
Yes.
That these are one of the campaign promises of the three major contenders in the last election. Peter Obii, Atiku, and President Bola Tinubu. They all agree that on their first day, they will remove fuel subsidy. Now, we have the president who made the promise and has kept to his word. How he did it is a different ballgame. But now, with all the picture you have painted, are you sure that if the APC decide to field President Bola Tinubu in 2027, does he have a chance of winning?
Winnability in this country is not about the candidate. It's about the winning strategy. The quality of the candidate is least in the strategy. That is what we have come to see in our politics. But first, let me come to the point of all the candidates promising to take fuel subsidy. You can take fuel subsidy. The process, how you do it, is what we're talking about. You don't come on first day on air, the first statement you made is subsidy is gone. Taking everybody unaware and creating panic. Is that what we're talking about? Even if it's not going to be a phased removal, there are ways you do it. No, why was immediately we have taken this fuel subsidy for 2 years now? Isn't it enough to handle the other side of the economy, which is energy, electricity? If electricity is top form now, I will not feel so much pain about subsidy removal. But every other thing that has to do with petroleum is still low. And so we need to rely on petroleum, on fuel. And if we are going to do that, and it's so expensive, there is no other way. As we speak now, the opacity in even the operation is something else. lack of absolute absence of transparency. Ordinarily, PMS supposed to be less expensive, no, more expensive than diesel. But as we speak, diesel is more expensive than PMS.
Why is it so?
That is what we have to know. These are some of the operations that nobody seems to understand. If you're talking of demand, PMS is more in demand. But why is it kerosene now? I don't know how many people still use it. And so this blanket approach that every other thing must be driven by market forces. And how true are the market forces? You know all the stories, all the intrigues around the coming on stream of Dangote refinery. They never wanted it to come because it was going to expose so many. Even as we speak now, some people feel that, it's better for them to import fuel. Because after importation, they just give a figure that, this is, we consume 80 million liters of, that was the regime of subsidy and all of that. So, how can the nation bleed at that level, volume, really massive bleeding, and then that we are still surviving as a nation is actually a miracle.
So the other part of the question,
Yes.
I was asking, does it stand a chance of winning?
No. I started off with answering that part of the question, that in Nigeria here, politics is not decided. Electoral victory is not decided by objective conditions. Now, the things that decide the electoral victory, they are things that we cannot even go anywhere and discuss in the free world, in the civilized world. We all know that elections do not take place, which is why the starting point of this democracy is electoral reform. Reform that will make it possible for voters to decide who wins an election. If we don't get there, then we are not practicing democracy. So if you ask me if Tinubu stands a chance, he stands all the chances.
In spite of all the picture you have painted?
Yeah, exactly. He stands all the chances.
In spite of the sufferings?
Yes, the only thing that will stop him is if the opposition can match him in his game and neutralize every of the variables he's going to deploy, then we will know. Because there will be the argument, there is still the sentiment that, okay, the last election was not properly conducted. They say so many things, all those INEC glitches, not uploading the result, IRF and all of that in real time and all those ones. If they come again, what are you going to do? The thing is, this is where sometimes I begin to wax a bit philosophical and spiritual, that maybe some kind of divine intervention will just come to make the minds of all the players, all the actors, to just come on a page to say, look, for the sake of this country, let's do things well. For the sake of tomorrow, for the sake of the generation, all these young people, let us just do things well so that we will create a culture. But if that is not agreed upon, if we don't get to that point, and it is about performance and then non-performance as the key factors to determine the return of an incumbent, it's going to be hard to make any statement on that. Because every Nigerian, you go, you do this thing and go and conduct a poll now. In Warri here or even in Ogbodo here, just do a sample poll and ask people, will you vote for Tinubu? Will you vote for Tinubu? And see how many people will say yes or no. But with that result, that poll result, that opinion poll, will it turn out to be a reflection of the main election in 2027? These are the issues.
Among these contenders, yes, because within the coalition, we have people who are very ambitious.
Sure.
Is it the Peter Obii? Is it Atiku Abubakar? Is it El-Rufai? Is it Rotimi Amechi? Who are you going to call? These persons are ambitious. They want to be president.
Yes.
Do these people have the same mindset? Have the mindset for a better Nigeria? Because considering the fact that many of these persons have held positions in the past. Some of them have been ministers, have been vice president, have been governors.
And they have skeletons in their cupboards.
You want me to make a direct choice of these
I'm
ones?
even coming there.
No, this one you are presenting. I don't know. The person that approximates my picture, the picture I painted about the spirit and intellect, the person that approximates it most is Peter Obii. I'm not going to hide from that fact now.
Can Peter Obii win an election in Nigeria?
That is another matter. Some people will tell you that he won the last election. So the point of whether he can win election does not arise. Whether he will be made to win election. That on a smooth contest, with all the conditions, with all the variables in place, nobody is controlling things anyhow. He will overrun the electoral system. And he will draw all the variables to himself, objectively.
But do you think that the likes of Atiku Abubakar, El-Rufai, and Rotimi Amechi will be ready to support
It's another matter. It means that is why we are heavy as a nation. And so, you see, sometimes I feel like I should just even take a vacation and go somewhere. And I go to the bush and forget about this country and all of that. Because if this, you know, the difference between the black race and the Caucasian is what you are just pointing at now. The black race is not able to organize its own rescue. You read that novel, The Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
A group of youngsters were stranded on an island. But for them to come together, reason, and plan the rescue, they started self-cancellation. They went into self-cancellation, fighting a war of attrition, and nothing happens in the end. That is the burden of the black race. COVID-19 came, and the white man saw that COVID-19 was killing them, even in spite of the propaganda to make it like a global pandemic. And so, they saw what was going to happen. They didn't go to a mountaintop. They didn't organize crusades, praying. They went and solved it. They went and solved it.
With their vaccine.
Exactly. In 2000 was it 2020 or something like that? After the advent of Donald Trump the first time and all of that, they saw that he was a disaster. They brought Joe Biden. They tried Joe Biden again. They are going back to Donald Trump. At the end, they will still know that, oh, it's a disaster. They can fine-tune, but we don't have capacity to fine-tune. That is our problem.
In Nigeria.
That is not only in Nigeria, except a few countries in South Africa, in Africa that may be trying to break the genes. We are just there. We accept like that. And that is because of the quality of human beings we are. The spirit is so low. We are ruled by consumption and ostentation. How can I spread like peacock? What will I eat? How is my car bigger than yours? That is just all. Otherwise, if you are concerned that, oh, if I don't do this, cheap. Look, I was in Norway. Norway is a big operator in the North Sea. Together with this Royal Dutch, a shell that you people call here and all of that. And they told me that Norway, they are less than 5 million people. Meaning that, yes, the entire population. Yes, less than that. And they have more than $1 trillion in sovereign wealth fund. $1 trillion. You know what is $1 trillion? We are struggling to say we want to reach $1 trillion economy. That is the whole GDP of this big country that has more than 200 million human beings.
Maybe our population has a factor in this. Perhaps if we are smaller, we'll do better.
Why you are reducing it? That is too reductionist. It doesn't follow that way. Is America not bigger than us? America has a much bigger population, almost twice the population of Nigeria. And is it not the biggest economy in the world? An economy of over $20 trillion. And China is more populated than America. China GDP is just about 50% of American GDP. And is the second biggest economy. So it's in a distant second. And so, what we are saying here is that, like, I go back to the Norway. They produce oil. What they do is that everything that comes from that oil is invested for the generation next. They don't consume it because they know very well that oil is a wasting resource, that someday it will finish. And so the subsisting generation does not have right to finish everything on behalf of the generation next. But in our own, we have this chop and quench mentality. We don't think of even our own children. Say, anyhow, if they no see food chop, may they die. That's the way we operate. And it's bad. Why will a father be thinking like that of your own children? So Norway does that. And by law, they are permitted to spend only 4% of the profit profit on investment of the oil money. Only 4%. Not even on the profit, on the returns. The main capital is there. Then the returns that the capital brings, the investment brings, they are not even allowed to spend even up to 50%, say 4%. Everything is invested, waiting for the generation next. So the subsisting generation holds everything in trust for the generation next.
Let me come from this area now. Having said all you said, how do you think this coalition that is coming up will make a difference?
Everything, it depends on them now. It is like a sage who was approached by a young man. The young man had a live bird in his hands, and he wanted to test the wisdom of the sage. And he had the bird hidden behind it. And he was telling the sage that, okay, sage, wise one, can you tell me if what I'm holding is a live bird or a dead bird? And the man says that the fate of that bird is in your hands. You can decide to kill it, but you can decide to keep it alive while you hide it behind your back. So the fate of the coalition is in their hands. Right now, we are talking of people shooting in different directions. Atiku will be 80 what by 2027? He will be 82. He wants to be president. Can't people just accept the fate that, oh,
I was not designed to be a president?
Yes, I was not designed to be a president. It doesn't matter. And then, in any case, if we are united in a purpose, you only need somebody to push that purpose, especially when it has to do with this partisan politics. That is the idea of party. Party is collected by an ideology, united by an ideology. But you need a central person to push it. Just a subjective factor to push that ideology, that collective ideology. And in that, if the person is not able or less able, the same party will come, vote of no confidence, especially in the parliamentary system and all of that, and the person will be recalled. But in the presidential system, we wait for the next election and all of that and say, look, you didn't represent us well. But here, when you know clearly that you are an idiot, you want to use power, you want to, because you have some other advantages, you want to pull to say you must be. Which is the criticism against democracy? That democracy, the way it is, in fact, who was that philosopher? Was it Plato or one? Say democracy we give access to mad people. Because the idea of a philosopher king is that the best only should be made, yes, to occupy leadership. But here we are now. Everybody and all of that.
But from the look of things, sir, all the persons who are angry, all the persons for now, or most of those who are forming this coalition have a huge moral baggage. Some of them have cases with the EFCC. Some of them, we have looked at their antecedents in governance and in power. They were contributors to where Nigeria is now. What makes them think that this is the opportunity for them to redeem this country? If not that, they just want the power for the sake of power.
Yes, that has been the method, man. That has been the tradition.
So nothing is going to change.
No, you are just being academic or you are moralizing. The Tinubu that is there, does he have a clear moral slate? The kind of baggages that he brought into the presidency, has that ever happened before? But it's there. And then they come with a technical argument. If you cannot prove it in court, then it's non-existent.
And the court is in their hands.
Well, I don't know whether the court is in their hands, but that is the position. If you say somebody is a thief and the court has not declared the person a thief, it's defamation to call that person a thief. But if the court has declared you a thief, everybody can go to the mountaintop and call you a thief because it has been declared, it has been affirmed that you are a thief. So if you say the man, he did this, all of that remains in the realm of speculation. Nothing has been proved again. Just the same way with all of them. Is it, okay, you are talking of Rotimi and all. What are their precedents? Who was Rotimi before 1999? This Wike that is jumping up and down like causing so much trouble. Who was Wike before 1999? The only person in that coalition that you can give something to is Atiku. That, yes, he has some pedigree. Peter Obii, El-Rufai, well schooled and all of that. But he was just a hustler and all of that in 1999. I think it was in the banking or estate, whatever and all of that. And so, in terms of background, in terms of moral purity and all of that, no, you cannot begin to aim at the ideal. It's not possible. In the first place, we are in a realistic world. And so, if you want an ideal, an utopia, you cannot achieve anything. So it is with what you have that you create what you want. That is the situation we face. And we're going to work at it. So, on Atiku, I will tell him that Atiku has actually been the problem of this democracy in a way. He has been responsible for our getting derailed when it matters most. Yes, let me explain. He lacks the grace. He lacks the grace to wait for the crown. You know, it's something divine and there is nothing you can do about it. That is in philosophy or in literature. Once you are designed, you are programmed by fate to move in a direction, which is the tragic flaw. You will be deceived by your intellect. You will not be led by the Spirit.
You're taking me to the book Macbeth.
Yes. You will go as designed, as destined by fate. Otherwise, if Atiku had waited had supported Obasanjo, all of this, he would have finished his own destiny and gone long before now. They came with the theory, the Mandela theory. Yes, behave like Mandela. Mandela did one term and handed over to Thabo Mbeki. Obasanjo should also rise up to the status of a Mandela and all this. That was the thing. He was everywhere in BBC. He was the bride. He could choose to do this, because he had the politics in his hands. And to be factual, Obasanjo stooped to conquer. He prostrated to governors, everybody, and all of that. But they didn't remember Sipu and Ekwesi game of death. Once you if it's either you finish your enemy, if you give your enemy a chance to fight again, then be prepared. And that was exactly what happened with that. So when Obasanjo regained all the advantages, fight to finish. Then under Jonathan did not behave well because he also reneged on an agreement. But if that thing was better managed, we won't be where we are today. Buhari wouldn't have happened to us. But they didn't know that for whatever it is, if it is the choice of a promised good governance and a sure democracy, a Democrat, go for a Democrat, because you can always manipulate a Democrat, or you can do whatever you want with a Democrat and remove the Democrat. But you say you have one autocrat who has promised you good governance. No. Because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
So you made mention of Jonathan. Will you say Nigeria should try Jonathan again now that we have certain?
No.
And Jonathan is seen as a Democrat.
No, Jonathan, yes, he could be a Democrat 1,000 times over. His time is also over. It's not as if there are no other Democrats. There are other Democrats. Let them try their hands on other Democrats. Is Obii not a Democrat? Who are the other southern? Yes, he's a Democrat. Although between if he has to become part of the choices, I for one will not choose him. But he's a Democrat. He's a younger person. He has not had his chance before and all of that. Jonathan had 6 years in the presidency. 6 years was enough to make all the difference.
Are you saying that Jonathan failed?
He failed. And woefully too.
The media has been reporting a lot of defection of governors from opposition party to the ruling party, to the APC. Many people believe that this could be a kind of coercion of these governors into the ruling party. What do you make of all of this defection? Almost all the governors in the south have defected to the ruling party.
Let me put it in context. You see, politics is its own game. Governance is different. Tinubu is playing politics. Politics is the act of making all the power variables to yield to you. And that is what Tinubu is doing. First and foremost, he feels threatened by the Northern Bloc. And then his first reaction is to say, okay, let me create a Southern Bloc and have the Southern Bloc behind me. Which is the understanding. That is politics. It's okay. If the entire North goes on a block and then I am able to secure the South as a block, then the battleground becomes the middle belt, which can swing either way. That is the politics. That is the calculation. That is the politics. And nobody should stop another person from trying to gain advantage in terms of partisan politics, which is okay. So if you ask me whether it's coercion and all of that, no, it's negotiation. They are going into all forms of survival transaction. The governors feel that, okay, I will survive better. Maybe coming like this, some may stand and all of that. All these defections now, they are mainly happening in the southern states. They are not happening up north there. Even the governors of other PDP and all of that, although they will endorse Tinubu, but it doesn't translate to defection from their party. So that is where we are and all of that. Having said that, the emerging scenario will be such that political parties are not going to count in this election. Candidates may just be the ones that will make the difference. But what I know is that when it comes to choice in 2027, the individual candidate, the character of the candidate is going to play a very significant role. You understand? That is even at the state level. At the national level, of course, Peter Obii has become a tsunami now. Whether you like it or not, the man is unstoppable. They are literally bringing all the forces against him. And it's not working. And so I don't know what else they are going to do.
So to keep this Obii momentum, what do you think Obii should do to keep this current pace, this love people have for him?
The way he created the love, he should continue like that. If you read history, it started with Mahatma Gandhi of India, the philosophy of nonviolence, the nonviolence education. And then the thing became more westernized and popularized by Martin Luther King Jr. during his days in the civil rights movement. That there is a way you will not take gun, you will not yield to brute force. You don't join forces with your oppressor in his own game, but you rise. This is what you call the soul force. You rise above the mundane and then strike an altitude that is higher than the ordinary operational area. And then you cannot be harmed, and the people will just yield. And once it becomes that level of non-violence, is more difficult. That was how the Indians chased away the British. Say no. They wanted to divide them through religion and all of that, but Mahatma Gandhi held everything together and say, no, don't fight, don't pick a gun. So Peter Obii is doing exactly that. What gave him that popularity, he should continue in that. And what was it? His humility, his originality, his philanthropy. These are the things he was doing. Somehow people will get to know. People will get to know. Listen, the truth actually is that the problem is we are trying to take it from those kind of terrible, vindictive, evil workers of iniquity that you call opinion leaders, who will just come and say, I'm a politician, I'm representing my destiny. Once the people get to know that, no, Peter Obii is connecting with the people without middlemen, without political brokers and jobbers. He's connecting directly with the people. And that's what it is. Do you know that man walks everywhere he's secured by the environment? He's secured by the people. In fact, his problem now is that if he comes to Warina and he steps on the soil and all of that, there will be a spontaneous crowd of supporters. So anywhere he steps, there is a mini rally. And so, what is giving him that advantage is his method. He should continue in that method. The alternative is to challenge the people. No! It is like the battle between the snake and the eagle. On earth, the snake will take out the eagle. So for the eagle to have advantage, to have an edge, you must change the terrain, the battleground. So once the snake is taken off the ground to the air, that is all.
So on that note, you just took it from my mouth. That is all for this episode of 10 Angles podcast. We have been speaking with Abraham Ogbodo, a seasoned journalist, and he has seen quite a lot. 2027 is the target, and the politicians are strategizing to keep themselves in power or to enter into power. When we get to 2027, we will know who actually will take the day. But for now, it's our duty to interrogate the events as they unfold. Thank you, Theo Onojege. Thank you very much. And most importantly, we thank you, Abraham Ogbodo, for finding time to be with us. Please continue to follow us on our media handles at 10 Angles TV podcast, on our social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and even on X. We are there for you to follow us. I am Linus Chibu.